Hello and welcome to episode 120 of the Foundry Roundtable, the podcast exclusively covering the Foundry for Star Trek Online. I'm your tame Foundry author, Drogyn1701, and this is our first episode back in 2016. Obviously, we had meant to do one last week, but Dragoon had some technical difficulties. He lost internet and only got it back about the time we'd normally be ending a show, which is very late for some time zones, so we chose not to do it. But speaking of Greendragoon, he has internet this week, so here he is, back with us, ladies and gentlemen. Please welcome him.
Woohoo! I'm connected!
And with us, of course, is our partner in crime, Markhawkman.
I like this new outfit. He.
Won't ask how you got it.
Shooting heralds, that's for sure. So, as you can see, we are in the infirmary at Earth Space Dock, and there's a specific reason why I chose this as the venue for tonight's show, which is somebody asked recently, and I think it was either Primar or Sir Boulevard, how easy this would be to adapt into like a sick bay on a starship or something for a Foundry mission, because of course we have this map in the Foundry, and actually as I got to walking around in it, I think it'd be very easy, because all you have to do is stick a wall right here.
Also, don't we have those nice bulkhead/wall things where it looks like there's supposed to be a door even though it doesn't open?
Yes, we do. Have a Starfleet wall with a door in it that doesn't open, so you could put it right there if you didn't need to go anywhere. And if you did, this is big enough where you could sort of build some more hallways into this open area.
Yeah. Now,
I'd say the only downside is the minimap. Because the minimap, of course, shows Earth Space Dock.
This is one thing I've never experimented with. What does it do when you place things on this one? Because I know that for some maps, you can actually conceal the minimap by placing giant stone blocks everywhere.
Mm-hmm. Or the probably the floors. The floor objects would be pretty good for that.
Well, yeah.
I don't know. You'd have to experiment with that.
Because this is one of the, I guess you could say, non-standard mini-maps where it's not just a satellite picture of the area. It has actual symbols marked on the map.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not sure how the Foundry interface handles those. I suspect that it would just treat them normally, but I don't know for sure.
But in any case, I think this would make a pretty simple conversion into a starship, kind of a sick bay.
Yeah.
And a pretty decent looking one at that.
Probably get away with a little redressing here and there to kind of differentiate it from Earth Space Dock. Maybe put up some of those starship walls.
Well, one thing I noticed about this one is that, while none of the other medical areas in the game are exactly the same, a lot of them are very similar because, it has the same biobeds, the same walls that all the other ones have. They're arranged differently, of course, but it's the same props.
Also,
of course, this one is in the new ESD style, so it has new props, but ones we have available to us.
As I'll talk about later, I kind of took a different route and built my own sick bay.
Which is what I suggested. Primar was saying it wasn't him, so it must have been Sir Boulevard. And I think I suggested to him that he build his own and said, "Have you seen Dragoon's screenshots?" And he said, "Yes." And he said he could never produce anything that looked that good.
Thought he went on to actually produce something pretty good. I remember seeing him posting screenshots.
Maybe you remember that conversation. I don't know.
Oh, I thought he came back later or something.
It's been a week or two. So, in any case, let's move on. This is our first episode back after a little holiday break. And there's been a good amount of forum activity, so I thought I'd quickly run through a couple of things that have been posted on there. Questions people have asked and things like that. And the first one comes to mind is, what is the policy about using material from fan films in the Foundry? And essentially, it's like the novels. This is third-party copyrighted content, and you really can't use it. Now, you could probably get away with referencing it if you didn't use anything specific. But you can't use characters, plot lines. Well, I don't know about plot lines. That's a slightly more ambiguous part of it.
Yeah, it depends.
Yeah.
Depends on how it's done.
but definitely not characters or anything like that. So,
although, correct me if I'm wrong, but there are a couple of characters from like the books in the game, aren't there? The Star Trek books?
There's at least one. Mackenzie Calhoun is in. I think they had to jump through some licensing hoops for that.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you notice he doesn't really do anything. I think he used to be a quest giver. I don't know if he is anymore.
It's actually a very big thing with that, though, is because they actually did license the certain of the books specifically, which is why we see the Vesta in the game, for example. It's because they actually went and licensed it.
Well, yeah, they had to go through some pretty big channels in order to get the Vesta in, but that was a very concerted effort on their part because it was a fan request.
So oft requested.
Also, I think they've decided they don't want to do that again.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's funny because it was...
they said at STLV in 2014 that they were pretty much going to stick with their own creations as far as ships go from here on.
Mm-hmm.
And I think at this point we're getting to the point where it's very clear that Starfleet has moved on from a lot of the classic designs. I mean, there aren't too many left of the original designs. Like maybe the Norway is about the only one that comes to mind.
Also, a lot of the things that people keep mentioning on the forum that are, I guess you could say, canon designs that have never been seen in the game are things that kind of sort of appeared like halfway once and never again.
Well, yeah, you're talking about the kit bashes.
Yeah, the kit bash ships are something that people keep mentioning on the forum. And every time that people mention them, I'm like, why?
No, Drogyn, you can't have your Jaeger.
A lot of them were pretty ugly, but I want that Jaeger.
You want that Jaeger just so you can make Jaeger
just for the
jokes.
Pacific Rim references, yes. Even though it's a completely
pulled that up
thing.
the other day, and it's like such an ugly ship. It looks so wrong.
It was interesting because one of the guys who built those just posted some screenshots of the models on his Facebook. I saw them the other day. They were pretty, actually fairly. Some of them were fairly good looking, but I wouldn't care to fly one in game except for the Jaeger.
Well, there are actually
there
are some of them that I would like to have. Mostly the Nebula variants, because of the fact that in the TV show there were actually 3 different versions of the Nebula seen. One of which is in the game, and the variant that we have in the game was actually not something seen in the TV show at all. Because the ones that were seen in the TV show was the standard one, of course, which was seen mostly in Deep Space Nine, I think, because they made a CGI model of the Nebula for Deep Space Nine, and that was pretty much what determined what the Stowe Nebula looks like, is CGI model used for DS9.
You're talking about the mission pod, because all the different nebulas were supposed to have different mission pods.
Well, there was the Phoenix, which had this disc thing instead of the standard mission pod. Yeah, no one had really explained what the disk was for, but that particular nebula apparently had the ability to do some sort of active sensor sweep that the other ones didn't. But yeah, stuff like
It would
that.
have been kind of cool if for the Nebula class we have in Stowe that maybe they did something like where you could go back to space dock and fit it with a different one that would give you a different ability.
Hmm.
You could swap them in and out, but only if you were back at a space dock.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, maybe if they went and did a T6 version of the Nebula, they could do something like that.
Well, I'm
Right.
hoping they're going to do one because they did those other cross-faction bundles recently.
I was gonna say, I mean, I could see it as kind of like a 3-pack bundle where you get to choose between 3 different types of mission pods, and then maybe you get 3 different consoles with 3 different buffs.
We do have the anniversary event coming up, which always includes a ship, and we don't have any really idea what the ship is this year. So
I'm personally guessing, this is just a guess, mind you, I have no information to back it up, that it's probably going to be either a Not Cool design or a Lucari design.
could be something to go along with where we're at in the storyline.
Have you guys read
which is what happened last year?
New lore blog that came out?
Remind me.
It's a conversation set with the Crinum commander in charge of the research facility.
Yes.
Built the weapon at. And apparently
they're debating about
or however you say his name
or something like that.
Well, apparently Noi, you remember Mr. Grumpy from the Crinum episodes. Apparently he is becoming like super paranoid and secretive to the point where it looks very much like he's plotting something.
Mm-hmm.
So it's looking like the anniversary episode may have something to do with the Crinum and the fallout from.
That's a possibility, yeah.
I have a feeling it's going to have something to do with Noi's now erased wife.
Yeah, apparently.
Well, he'd be in the position to know about that because he has access to the temporal core where we stored all the stuff from the old timeline.
Well, actually, according to the lore blog, he locked everyone else out of it.
Ah, sneaky.
So yeah, usually the anniversary ship has some connection to the story, but I can't think of any other Crinum ships that we could possibly need, so I don't know how it's going to tie in.
Hard to say. Let's see, getting back to other stuff that we've had in the Foundry forums, spotlight missions. We had a thread that was lamenting the lack of spotlight missions, specifically saying that it has been a little bit unfair to new authors that come along, that produce good missions, but really have no chance at the moment of getting them spotlighted because nobody's doing any spotlighting. I don't know. I think we'd probably all be in favor of them starting up to do some spotlights again. That'd be great.
Oh,
definitely in favor of it. I think that the big question to answer in this case is who's going to sift through that and find spotlights.
That's a good question.
Well,
I don't know.
The only person who actually regularly did spotlights was Brandon, which means that would more or less fall on Trendy now.
Yeah, I just don't see Trendy taking the
time
to.
I think Trendy does some different behind-the-scenes stuff than Brandon did, from what I understand.
Yeah.
And some more technical, on the technical side of things at PWE. The spotlights were Brand Flakes' sort of big thing that he did, that the spotlights and the challenges. And,
well, I mean, it was actually something that he originated.
Yeah. And, each of our successive community managers have had their thing that they like to do, and none of it was the Foundry Spotlights. So, I don't know. I think it's just essentially it takes somebody at Cryptic or PWE who wants to get it done and wants to do it regularly.
I do seem to remember that Trendy mentioned that she does know how to do it. It's just that it's not something she does often.
Oh.
Well, we know Zero knows how to do it.
Zero can do it too. That's the easy part of the whole process, though. I mean, it's the going through, playing the missions, making sure, that they're not like doing anything bad,
Don't
and
violate
B,
the EULA.
that they're actually somewhat good.
Yeah.
I mean,
Well, it does.
everybody thinks their own missions are good, so. I mean,
And at one point last year, I volunteered us to sort of sift through and come up with some recommendations, but so far, no one wants to take us up on that.
So yeah, but I mean, Trendy has definitely done a lot of delegation. I mean, she's had a lot of initiatives that, where basically it delegates it to a group of players to kind of.
Which that seems to be working well. I mean, the literary challenges are going, and the screenshot challenges are going.
Yeah, if I remember at the last screenshot challenge, we actually had Jodark as the person choosing the winner.
Yep.
Yeah.
Jodark has been running those for a couple of challenges now. In fact, Dragoon, you're a winner, right?
I won November.
Or runner-up. Oh, no,
I won.
Excellent. Let's see. The other thing, and maybe Mark can shed some light on this, the other one that came up on the forums was aggro from mobs, and someone was wondering if that had changed because they were getting some weird... People were aggroing to the player through walls.
Well, it's something that I've noticed when playtesting Foundry missions, and also in the Winter Wonderland, is that it seems that the longer you go killing mobs without getting killed, it's like the engagement distance increases and eventually gets to the point where mobs will decide to kill you that you haven't even seen yet. Because in the one mission that I played, there were 4 rooms connected by a T-shaped hallway, or, well, X or plus sign or whatever. Anyway, you start in the first room, wipe the mobs from that. Nothing unusual happens. Wipe the mobs in the connecting hallway. Nothing unusual happens.
Okay, Duncan Hyde.
Start clearing. What?
I was going to say, Duncan Idaho is saying that this problem is occurring in the in preview only, that it doesn't carry over to live.
Well, the guy who originated this thread in the forums was saying it was on his published mission.
Okay.
I have to disagree. Everything I have just discussed was a live play.
Okay. All right.
So you published this test?
No. I played someone's mission and observed behavior while playtesting someone else's mission.
I see what you're saying.
Well,
anyway,
sorry, go ahead.
Let me continue. I cleared the hallway connecting the 4 rooms together, then started clearing the 3 rooms one at a time. After I'd cleared the 3rd room, the mobs in the 4th room ran down the hallway to ambush me. Nothing changed except my aggro rating that I know of. And these were enemies that I had walked past twice without them deciding to engage me. And then all of a sudden they decide they're going to hunt me down and kill me.
Maybe it is something to do with how long you've been on the map and how many other mobs you've killed.
Because, like I said, with QWW, I've observed that if I kill a certain number of snowmen, the snowmen will start, literally hunting me down. Because, you see the little red dots on the mini-map moving towards you. I can see snowmen coming after me that have never been close enough to attack me. And there's like things that literally like newly spawned snowmen that are out of line of sight and out of weapons range moving towards me to attack me.
So it sounds like this is not just a Foundry bug.
No.
Nah, it's probably a game one thing. Cass is
It
saying
seems-
might have something to do with threat generation.
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm thinking. Is that something somewhere in the game code changed to make it so that your threat rating determines the distance that enemies will attack you from. And it seems like it eventually gets to the point where it goes like well above the range at which you can shoot things with your weapon.
Well, I think the investigation into this is ongoing. So we'll see how this turns out. But why don't we move it along to what we've been working on? And Dragoon, I know you have been working in the Foundry, so show us what you got.
I've actually been working on part 3. Specifically, I kind of deep dived into working on one of the maps, and this is a map that I sort of started a little bit of earlier. Guys will remember my stellar cartography I had been working on before with the huge dome that disappears. Well, that was actually designed to be part of a larger map. So lately I've been working on trying to get the transition between this big dome and the rest of the map to work out. Plus, trying to get the map in such an angle that when the dome does disappear, you don't see like a bunch of hallways off in the distance from behind you. So towards that end, I mean, this is kind of meant to be an entire deck of a starship. Share here. Oh, that's not it. Okay, so I kind of wanted to go a little bit different design than the standard player interior that I've been going, which is based loosely off the older starship player interiors. But at the same time, I still wanted to keep it like recognizably Federation, because I mean this is meant to be as much time as my mission spends inside the player interior. I wanted this to look visually different. One of the interesting challenges, though, is that because the map is pretty large, I've been running into the object limit, so it's been kind of a challenge to kind of pare things down. So far, I mean, I think I spent like about a week and a half kind of building out this map, kind of refining it and stuff.
Well, it looks pretty good, though.
It's work in progress. I mean, there's still a lot to do. I mean, still several maps that I haven't touched yet that I need to design. A lot that's still a work in progress.
The your Cerebro map is pretty awesome.
Yeah, I had to redesign that to use less objects. So it changed a little bit from before, but I think overall it's still achieving the same thing.
I've been occasionally keeping up with other user-generated content tools in other games, and one of them just came out for Halo 5. It's the Forge Map Creator, and their object limit is 1,500. However, they only do one map at a time per project. So
true, and I mean
yeah,
every engine is different.
Budget, I'm sure. Yeah, yeah, of course.
Also, in the Halo engine, doesn't that 1,500 object limit include individual rocks and plants?
You know, I'm not sure exactly how it all works.
Because I have seen Halo maps on several occasions, and it seems like the sort of thing where you have combination of large and small assets. Some things that are very large and some things that are very small.
Well, I don't think that, like in Stowe, where we have pre-made maps with objects already on them, I don't think they start with that. I think they start with sort of just terrain.
Yeah,
featureless terrain. and then build.
Well,
and so
I
all of
wouldn't
those
necessarily
rocks
say
and,
featureless because some of the ones they have,
hills and
like tunnels and stuff like that, added to the hills. But
stuff like that.
yeah, just that.
But no props built in. I mean, we have a lot of maps that have built-in props, so we don't have to include those in our object limit.
Yeah, and in our case, I mean, our assets can have a pretty huge disparity in complexity.
Mhm.
We can have some assets that are super complex and some that are really simple.
Sure. So, Dragoon, if you had to guess, how long would you say till you might have this mission completed?
My goal is I do not want to have to go to Star Trek Las Vegas with this not done. So that is my deadline.
So about a year or so.
So
No, Star
we
Trek
will
Las Vegas is
not.
only 7 months
Okay.
Yeah,
away.
it's first week of August is when it is.
Okay, then.
So my little plan of going with a T-shirt that says "Where's Part 3," that's not going to fly.
No, you can still do the T-shirt. It's not like everyone won't know the joke.
Well, we will definitely be looking forward to it. All right, Mark, it's been a while since we've been here. Have you been in the Foundry at all?
I did do some work on the Foundry. Oh, that reminds me. I did some testing because of something Wombat 140 mentioned. Is that he was doing that thing with he was trying to make a solar system where you could see the sun in the sky.
Right.
And he managed to figure out how to get the like background assets so you can like put up a backdrop that has a star in it and stuff like that. And then he tried to add an actual sun object to the sky as a distant object, and he kept tinkering with it and trying it and talking about how he couldn't get it to work. Well, I couldn't get it to work either, and I don't know why. I'm not sure if it's a preview-only bug or, well, to be honest, I don't understand how this would be a preview-only bug because it's a map object.
Now this is in space on custom.
Yeah, custom space maps. Apparently, you can't. If you add a star to the map backdrop, it doesn't actually show up.
Well, those have kind of been wonky for a while now.
Indeed,
yeah,
but a different kind of wonky.
Yeah. Kind of one of those things
Well,
that just breaks a little bit more.
I should go to reply to that thread because I did one a long time ago, looking for ideas to, how to make it like place a star on a map since we don't have a star object. And I came up with using the supernova backdrop and putting a big gas giant on the very edge of the map so that you couldn't fly around to the other side. So it looked like the supernova was coming out of it. And then covering it with a bunch of nebula objects.
Well,
and it
we also have certain of the large planet objects that look kind of like they're glowing already.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, if you get
you could always say it's a brown dwarf because those are pretty much gas giants.
Or like one of the relatively dim red dwarfs. Yeah, well.
I'm always trying to, I like to keep up with real space exploration, and I'm always trying to think of ways to build stuff into my missions that is from real space exploration.
Mm-hmm.
Like, maybe use one of these new planets we're always discovering. But half of the ones that we are discovering now are like 1,500 light years away, which is well outside anything that we've ever been to in Star Trek.
That's actually
as far as the main
a
game area.
That's actually kind of an amusing thing with real world science and fictional science is that real world technology for examining distant solar systems has the ability to detect certain objects much more easily than certain others. Of course, in Star Trek, they often don't know everything about the system until they have a ship go there, anyways, which is
Sure.
kind of reason they have ships going to a lot of these places. But
Which would be similar to what we can do. I mean, obviously, we can
Well, I mean,
we can sort of tell some things about a star system from this far away, but
but
we wouldn't
you know,
really be able to
few
know
things.
what's there unless we went there.
yeah, I mean, at best we can only barely detect planets if they just happen to pass within front of the star. So, I mean,
Well, there are actually a few cases where they've managed to use orbital wobble to calculate planets, but the orbital wobble approach is unreliable at best and only really works for relatively large things. The case with Gliese was one of the first where they thought they'd found a planet using the orbital wobble approach that was actually habitable potentially.
But now that we're doing this exploration thing, um, it's a great opportunity to try and put some of that real world sciencey stuff in there. Go on the NASA's website and look at the the latest things that the Hubble is taking a picture of, and see if you can recreate that or something similar. Get an inspiration there.
Or for other forms of fun, go on the U.S. Geological Survey website. Why? Well, the U.S. Geological Survey maintains maps of the surface of the planet Earth. Well, it turns out that they also maintain maps of the surface of every other planet that we have maps of the surface of.
That'd be cool. And find some
Yeah,
features that look interesting.
it's like
They
the
actually have
exogeologic
some
survey.
really nice. They actually have some really nice maps of Mars and Venus.
I
I'm
was
gonna have
surprised
to
I
check
didn't think
that
we knew all that much about the surface of Venus.
out. We do
Um,
now. We didn't used to be able to
people-
really see through the clouds, but now we can.
People
And we've
came
had
up with a way of
orbiters there.
using something other than visible light to what's the word for it? Not topographical or altitude, but contour map of Venus.
And actually, I think somebody has a mission to put a lander on the surface here sometime soon, which is not something we've done a lot of in the
Because it's
history of
actually
space exploration.
really hard.
Yeah, it's really hard to
but-
get an actual good landing.
Well, the Russians sent I think they called it Venera, to Venus, and it actually did transmit data before it inevitably ceased to function.
Speaking of transmitting data, and another good space exploration thing to take inspiration from is the mission to the comet, which we landed on a comet. That lander has sadly stopped transmitting, but we did get some good data from it. But it only
I
had
heard
limited
NASA's
battery life, so.
I heard NASA's planning to finally send a probe to Ceres.
Yeah, the big asteroid.
Well, one of the more amusing historical notes is that Ceres was actually officially classified as the 9th planet when it was discovered. Then it got reclassified, but whatever.
Hey,
And
just
the
to
whole
show off
dwarf
something,
planet.
Duncan, Idaho posted
A very nice looking ground map.
there we go. Posted this in the chat. I'm guessing it's from an exploration mission he's working on.
That's what he
Looks very
says.
cool.
And he says he's taking a different approach. So maybe this is like a first contact situation of some kind.
Oh.
Maybe we'll just have to play his mission and find out.
We get a glimpse of Dragoon's Star Citizen wallpaper there. But we don't mention that game on this show.
Well, I like more than one thing.
It needs a UGC system. It really does.
I'd be interested to see if it'll eventually have anything like that.
Needs a game first.
Well, yeah, obviously, lots of development left. But anyway, I'll tell you what I've been working on, which is I am going to do a little exploration mission to go along with our big exploration series anthology, and what I've been working on is sort of a lower deck area for our Starbase, which we're going to be working on a little bit later. I figure, if you're going to a place where you have detected synthetic materials, you think there might be a civilization there or have been a civilization there. You've never been there before. What are you going to need? You're going to need a linguist, someone who can figure out their language. This isn't something you see a lot in TNG era Star Trek. Obviously we had Hoshi back in Enterprise era, but you don't see that a lot in TNG era.
There was actually something that Data did in TNG.
Yeah, he did a lot, as I recall, of trying to figure out.
Because he's an android. He can literally download new languages.
Mm-hmm. But I figure, if you're going to come across something new, you need somebody who at least knows the basics of language, or has education and training in languages to figure it all out.
Although now that I think about it, in one episode it was actually Riker. Yeah, there's that one episode where they had that ambassador who used sign language, and Riker was actually the guy who learned the sign language well enough to communicate with the guy, which was weird, but not what he usually.
I'm also using this as an excuse to add a character, so you need a secondary character to introduce, and the place where you go meet her. I figured, maybe there's a linguistics department on our Starbase, and so you go down there and say to the supervisor, we're going to need somebody, can you assign us someone? And I figured, it's not like a science lab or anything like that. It'd be like an office. So I've been building just a basic office with cubicles and stuff, using various different parts. The glass displays, the tops of them are nice walls, so been using that for the cubicle walls. And then filling it out with all sorts of other stuff you'd see in an office, like lamps and potted plants, and break area with a table and a replicator. And then I'm working a little bit on a space map that I've got. It's going to be a rogue planet, so it's off on its own. There's no star there. It's very cold as a result. There's all kinds of ice, giant ice fields surrounding the planet, which makes it fun. Hopefully it'll make combat fun, because there will be some combat in this mission. So that's what I've been working on. And the script, of course. About halfway through that. I'm going to have to come up with some alien language stuff. Likely it will be some form of gibberish. Some dialect of gibberish.
Jaffa, Kree!
Something like that, yes. All right, well, we've got a couple of mission reviews here to get through. So, Dragoon, why don't you start us off?
Okay, well, as has kind of become tradition, since Drogyn has a tendency to work on the Starbase UGC big projects, I kind of tend to get the job of having to review them. So
getting to review, getting to.
And in no way am I being paid in dilithium to do this. Seriously.
We can negotiate that later.
The new series that they've been working on is called Photonomy. And so far I played part 1 by Castmodean. The general synopsis is you start off heading out to go help take down one of the few remaining gulls in the true way, and so you go and assist in that, and then after that you make a quick trip to Ryza. We are about to take shore leave before you get called to Earth by President Okeg for to basically join a diplomatic dinner and also assist in basically security for the Sol system. While you're patrolling the Earth, you stumble across a unusual probe that you quickly find out has been collecting data. And so the mission kind of goes around you kind of tracking down where this probe came from, an attempt to kind of figure out was who put it there to basically spy on the Federation. Now this is obviously a part one, so it's just it's a lot of setup for things that are going forward. The other major plot, and this kind of leads back to the title of the series, is that while you're kind of looking into this probe, the apparently the holographic doctor from Voyager attempts to apply to basically run for president of the Federation and is rejected. And this apparently leads to a basically, I want to say riots because there's no violence, but protests. There's the word. Protests with the various photonic life forms, including one who you talk to, who's basically running your sensor control. After that, it basically is a case where you kind of are following this main plot of trying to track down these probes and working with Starfleet intelligence, as well as kind of getting background, seeing background elements of these of this decision and kind of the unrest that it brings in. So overall, first I will start off by saying that top-notch on maps. I mean, Cast has outdone himself as usual, and there was several really good maps in this. I think two that comes off is he did these lower decks, which I was actually pretty impressed with. Although he says he stole the design from somebody else. That you kind of running around your ship at one point.
We had also a lot of collaboration on this series.
Yeah. There's also this very nice Federation office down on Earth that you go to. Very large, a lot of like glass offices and various. I mean, there's like spots where you could like walk out to the main door and see like holographic people like kind of protesting out front. So it was kind of interesting. I mean, this is probably one of the first Foundry missions I've seen that really makes an attempt at a B plot, where you've got two separate plots kind of going in parallel. Because you're, at least so far, your main plot doesn't tie directly into your into what's happening with the photonics. At least in any way that's apparent yet. I imagine it'll swing back in and the two will connect in the later episodes.
Everything is connected. Or is it?
Nothing has anything to do with anything. They'll never see it coming. But, all right, so my criticisms of this would have to be, I felt like the first part of the mission where you go off to help in this capture of this throughway operative, and then the subsequent stopover in Ryza was not. It didn't seem connected to the later mission at all. Now, there was enough detail in there. I assume that they're probably setting up something, but it feels like it was a lot of extraneous that probably could have been refined a little bit more. For instance, it would have been nice if they could somehow tie the this true way capture back to Earth, have it occurring like on the outskirts of the Sol system. Like, say for instance, the true way had a like a last ditch attempt to try and attack um, Federation headquarters as kind of a plot, and you stop them at the beginning of the mission. You could do that maybe like around the outskirts, like Neptune or Pluto, and then you wouldn't have to have this elaborate going, but all the way out to Risa, and then all the way back to Earth, running around. So it would have been kind of nice to see that tightened up a little bit more, especially if this you want this Cardassian and the Bajoran officer chasing after him to kind of feature back into the plot later in a meaningful way. If they don't feature in some meaningful way, then I would say cut it entirely. But like I said, I can't really make that judgment without knowing how the rest of the mission is going for. But those are really my only critiques, because it just felt like you were running around a little too much at the beginning before you actually get to the inciting incident, which is the unrest with the photonics and the discovery of the probe. Now, if that makes any
you
sense.
see that a lot as a storytelling idea of, some kind of initial mission that gets you into the plot but really has nothing to do with the plot.
Yeah, I mean, I think, but I mean,
the most
even,
egregious example being Second Wave.
True, but in their case,
It's a really flimsy excuse to get you to DS9 at the exact right moment.
yeah, but in this case, it didn't connect with the inciting incident. It was you did A, and then you went on to B, which is the inciting incident. It's not you're doing A, and then the inciting incident happens, or the inciting incident comes out of what you were doing, or something like that. So I would have liked to have seen it tightened up a bit.
Well, in this case, I'm afraid because of my poor memory, and it's been a little while since I played all these episodes, I do not remember if that comes back for anything.
Okay.
My own episode I have absolutely memorized, of course, because I built it, but the rest of them are now a bit fuzzy.
Are you talking about the FE series? Because if I remember right, the Borg conference that they have in the Dominion FE series never gets mentioned again.
Nope, never.
Yeah, well, I've expressed my theories on that one before. What I think should be done about that, but so yeah, the other complaint I would have is that I'm pretty sure I'm trying. I mean, my memory might be a little bit hazy. It's been a few days since I played it, but I seem to recall that President Okeg invites you to Earth on the grounds that he wants to invite you to a diplomatic dinner, which so far hasn't happened. All I got stuck with was patrolling Earth orbit. So what gives? I wanted to go to dinner.
And, yeah, you patrol
you
Earth's orbit, and then you shoot at things repeatedly, and then a few hours later,
then it's dinner time. But let me get this straight: you want to go to dinner with a bunch of politicians and stuffy admirals? Wasn't this the thing that Cisco was, trying to get out of with like anything at his disposal?
Well, I mean,
also it's a Saurian, but what do Saurians consider to be food?
Well, I'm just going to point out I have made admiral in less than a year, so I've been busy. I don't get a lot of diplomatic functions.
Maybe this is why you made admiral that quick. It's because you've been kissing so much,
Okay, I had one more point I was going to bring out, and I got to remember what it was. You got me distracted, Drogyn.
Castmodean is in the chat room, and he's saying because this is kind of, it's not a sequel directly or anything, but it is set to be in the timeline after the Purity series that we did.
Yeah.
Which, God, that's been like 2 years now. And you saved his life back in the Purity series, incidentally my mission of it. And so that's why he wants you there, because, you got history. And that's why he wants you for security, since he knows you're good at it.
Okay, I remember now what my third point was. Okay, so my third point was is that the issues raised with the doctor attempting to run for office of the president and being denied, you only hear about it after the fact, which doesn't give you any time to react to it. And this kind of goes back to the tightening up that early inciting incident, connecting it better, because it would have been really nice to have some build up to that. So, like for instance, somebody mentions that like, oh, the doctor is going to apply for or put in his candidacy for office of the president, or maybe you hear a snippet of his announcement for his candidacy or something like that. Something to let you know that things are building up, so that when the reveal that he's been denied this, it makes more impact. Because otherwise, I mean, it kind of comes out of the blue that you don't even find out about it until you walk down to your sensor control and you've got a photonic officer there that you haven't met yet complaining about it. And it's like, I had to find it out this way.
Well, essentially, that is part of the build-up to other things.
No, true, but I'm just saying I would have liked to have seen.
But I could see where you could
the setup
play
for
it
this,
as,
not met it early.
yeah, leave that till the end of the episode. You know, have people in the beginning talking about, oh, hey, did you hear the doctor's going to run for president?
Yeah, I mean, don't even have a problem with when in the mission it was revealed, because I mean that works pretty well. I'm just saying that there should have been more details about it before it actually happened, so there's a build up to it. So,
and it's tough. It's tough showing. You know, we always talk. Show rather than tell is one of the big things in fiction. But it's tough showing things that would happen nowhere near where you, a starship captain, are.
I know if you wanted to tie back to being invited to a party, maybe you were invited to. But maybe the reason to get you to Earth is because you're invited to the doctor's announcement of candidacy speech. Although,
well, of course,
we may not have the doctor. So
the other trouble is, we can't use the doctor, so we can only mention him.
I think that's about everything I had on it. I mean, it definitely it's a lot of intriguing storytelling, especially with this interweaving B plot, which I'm really liking. Obviously, at this point, you don't have a lot of agency because it's events that you're hearing about, but are outside the view of the mission itself right now. Other than seeing a few photonics complaining about it, it's not something that you can really show at this point. But I mean, it'd be definitely interesting to see how this evolves and how these two plots kind of interweave. I mean, I think so far, I think it's got a lot of potential. Obviously, we'll find out how it goes later.
Well, I'm glad you did a review of that tonight, because that saves me the trouble of doing any work to promote it. So just say that we did release it around Christmas time, and to generally good reviews so far. So we'll look forward to more of your reviews coming up soon. And one point, it was actually the thing you were invited to was his last State of the Federation address before he leaves office.
Okay, well, I missed the specific event that he was inviting you to. So are you allowed to remove OKEG from office in canon?
In canon, no.
Oh.
Well, why should that stop us?
Well, yeah, because the EULA doesn't actually state anything to the effect of us not using any of the characters that are specific to Stowe. From a story writing perspective, of course, it's a generally bad idea to do anything drastic with them, but at the same time, it's not necessarily...
We can't kill them off,
Okay, well, I think poor choice of words on my part. I meant to say was, are you allowed to remove him from office and then not have Cryptic come back and have him in office?
Obviously,
well, you'll have to get to the end of the episode series to find out how we do that.
Okay, just going to assume he wins the re-election.
But essentially, 2410 is supposed to be an election year. It would be really fun to have Cryptic do something with that. in game. Have like a presidential race where people could vote or something like that. I don't know.
Yeah, but if 2410 is anything like 2409, we might be in 2410 for like 3 or 4 years.
Yeah.
Also, I can't visualize Cryptic actually making an event out of the Federation presidency.
I can't imagine Gecko letting
Hard to say. I think it'd be
OK
fine.
get out of office. Which, if anyone hasn't figured out,
his name.
OK is Gecko backwards.
Yeah. All right. Moving along. Dragoon, you had some discussion topics, I think, you wanted to cover.
I thought we were talking a lot about the Foundry Exploration
Yes.
initiative.
Absolutely.
I just assumed we were going to talk a ton about that.
Yeah, definitely. I went ahead and put that out there on the forums. Our sort of the outline of our project. For anyone not familiar, it is basically we're going to allow people to make a big series of exploration missions. The only connection has to be about exploration of some kind. And then we're going to have everybody start their mission at the same star system. And so anybody can make a mission for this. You can make any plot you want, use any characters you want. It's all up to you. The only thing is it has to be about exploration in some way.
I just had an idea pop up into my head. It's one of those ideas that I kind of like pondered for decades, literally. But like who were the old ones of XO3? Yeah, that question's probably never going to be answered in canon. So might as well make a Foundry mission to explore it.
Well, that's one of the different things you can do. You can follow up on an episode of Star Trek. We always like to do that. You can create something entirely new. There's really just an endless amount of possibilities you can do with exploration. So we're going to, this is going to be something that anybody in the future can make a mission for. There's not going to be any set timeline. But one of the things that we are going to do is run like a contest at the very beginning. Once we've got a few things sorted out, we'll run a Foundry challenge with prizes. That'll be fun. So that we can get a good library of missions going right away. My mission that I'm building will not be entered in the contest, obviously, because we'll probably have to be the judges, the three of us. Or, at least the moderators will probably put it out there for votes as far as who gets the prize at the end. And then we're going to make some resources for people. So the starting location for these missions, we're going to say that they're, whatever point of interest on the Foundry map, Foundry door we end up using, we're going to say that there is a starbase in this region of space where the Alliance, the Federation, the Romulans, and the Klingons have set up a new initiative for exploration of a previously unexplored area of space. And people can start their missions at this starbase, or they don't have to use it at all if they don't want to. But we're going to make this starbase and give it a little bit of plot, and we're going to build some maps for it. In fact, we're going to do that tonight. Interior and space. And we're going to furnish the, what would you call it, the object lists for these so people can recreate them. And then the other thing we're going to do is I have been taking nominations for the name of this starbase. We've got all kinds of different names. From Unity Starbase to Starbase Discovery to New Dawn Station. All kinds of good stuff there.
Ooh, I kind of like that.
New Dawn Station.
Yeah.
There's also one, Fool's Landing. That was pretty funny. I've been taking nominations starting Monday, which is tomorrow for us, and well, let's see, what is that? Monday the 18th, I'm going to start a poll to see what the name of our new starbase is going to be. And then once we've got all of that...
which will be hopefully the day this episode comes out.
Yeah.
Give or take.
Usually the plan. And then we're also going to create a command crew for it. I was going to run this by you guys tonight, see if this list works. Let's see, Space Station crew. Okay, so I kind of loosely based this off Deep Space Nine to see kind of who we would need. So the first, obviously, is a station commander. And then we would need an executive officer, a chief medical officer, chief of operations, science officer, strategic operations officer, and a chief of security. These are people that, we are going to, if this list is good, we're going to put this out there. People are going to nominate characters to do one of these jobs. You can nominate your own Foundry characters. You can nominate cryptic NPCs that aren't there anymore in the game anywhere. Maybe people from Memory Alpha that needed to be reassigned somewhere. Or you can make up a new character for it. And then once we've got nominations for each of these positions, we'll run a poll on the forums and see who we come up with. And the nice thing is that these people could be from any of the three big governments: Federation, Klingon, Romulan.
So I suppose that rules out nominating endless.
I think for the command crew, we want to keep it to the big three. But if you're if you're creating your mission and you're going to set it on the Starbase, you can add characters beyond just these command crew.
I suppose you could put her in as a foreign exchange officer or something.
Mm-hmm. I also thought there should be some liaison officers from from each of the big three governments.
Well, the reason why I mentioned endless is, Vorta, Dominion, blah, blah, blah.
Mm-hmm. But, if you wanted to include the Dominion in your mission, that's fine, and you put that character on the Starbase. All that stuff is up to you, and all of these are going to be sort of resources you can use if you want, but don't have to.
Yeah, well, that's just one that popped into my head because of the whole thing with foreign governments and stuff, and I actually did use the Dominion in one of my missions, but not as enemies, which, I thought it was fun to make.
Yeah.
Well, why don't we...
and I think there's a lot of fun room to maneuver with this kind of thing because, you could talk about, what are the Cardassians doing, with this exploration initiative. Maybe the Cardassian government got involved. Maybe they sent an exploration team out there and they never came back. So you have to go and find out what happened to them.
That's kind of one of the nice things about this is we want to give the hooks for people to use, but at the same time,
leave it very open-ended.
Yeah, exactly.
Because that was the kind of approach that really worked very well with the Iconian War anthology. I mean, when I put that out there, I just said, all it has to be is about the war in some way. And then you can do, within that, you can do anything you want. And none of these missions have to be connected to each other either. So, why don't we build a couple of maps here?
Okay, well, why don't we start off with the first step and ask the question of where is this base located? It's something we kind of talked about, but we haven't narrowed down.
Nimbus.
Well, I think the idea is it's off at the edge of explored space somewhere. Because it's at sort of a jumping off point to exploring somewhere that we've never been before. As for the mechanics of it, we'll probably want it to be somewhere at a point of interest where there is nothing in the top three just yet.
Okay, well, I mean, just about anywhere in the fringes, it's pretty empty.
The Lilsys system seems like a good choice to me.
Okay, where was that?
Lilsys is actually relatively close to Bajor, but it's in one of the sectors that was added to the game during the sector space revamp.
Well, those are definitely good places to look.
And of course, it's close to the bottom of the Alpha Quadrant map.
Oh, to the bottom of the Alpha Quadrant.
Since it's a new system, then it shouldn't have any old content associated with it, and thus the only thing would be Foundry stuff. Assuming it's actually hooked up to Foundry door. I haven't verified that yet. I just pulled up the map and looking around for things in the edges
There it is,
of the...
Lysis. Okay, I found it. It's the Ubay sector.
It's the very
Not on
bottom.
the edge, but it's in one of the edge. So why specifically Lysis versus the other two in this system, including Dubay, which is really very much at the very edge?
To be honest, I just pulled up the galaxy map in game, and I'm not in sector space. I'm just looking at the ground version of the galaxy map, and that was the only one marked in Dubhe for stars. And there's something that is not used. So if this went closer to the edge, we could use that.
At one point, didn't some of you guys look around at some of the systems to see which ones didn't have anything in the top 3?
I did. I kind of looked at two key areas. I looked at the... there was a couple over here at the edge, the Vorenus and Volnar, which are on the very far side of the Alpha Quadrant. And these are all like super empty, and a lot of their descriptions, ones that I could find descriptions for, like proposed site for a Cardassian colony. Stuff like that. Like even the Cardassians were only just now starting to get out this far.
Mm-hmm.
The downside to this side of the map is that it's really far from the social zones. The closest you can find or transwarp is the Defera over here, which isn't too far, but not everybody has. I mean, you have to get tier 1 in the Omega rep to unlock Defera.
Yeah, there's not a lot of reasons to go there and for people to pass by and find these missions, but at the same time, this is something that we'll be promoting and trying to get the word out that these exist. So,
I mean, so on the plus side, I mean, this is very far from anything ever explored in the TV series. I mean, obviously this is on the far side of Cardassian space, which they were kind of somewhat hostile to through pretty much all of the TV series. So, and
but the current Cardassian government is essentially allied with the Federation. And
it could be that it would be a good way to involve the Cardassians, because maybe the while it's maybe the station itself is leased from the Cardassian government.
Could be.
Or at the very least, maybe it's with permission of the Cardassian government that this initiative is operating.
Could be.
Some of the other places I was looking at and find Alpha Quadrant. Okay, so one of my places I liked was the Archer system here. And the reason the Archer system kind of intrigued me is it's at the edge of the map, and it's kind of at the edge of Explorer Space, although TNG, the Enterprise D, was kind of poking around in this area during its course. But it's still kind of at the edge, but at the same time, it's actually really close to all 3 powers. It's really very close to New Romulus.
It's far away from Tal Shiar territory. Well, some of it.
Actually not all that far from Iconia, but hopefully the Iconians are less of a threat now than they used to be. I mean, obviously it's a ways from Sol, but at the same time, it's...
You also get some heritage there, with it being named after Jonathan Archer.
Well, that's the funny thing, and this is kind of why I specifically picked the Archer system. This is where the star charts put Archer, but there was kind of a continuity error in that, because the Archer system was named after Jonathan Archer and was supposed to be much closer to Earth than this Archer system was.
You'd think they'd name something after him that he had actually been to.
Well, one thing that I've heard is that there's actually 2 different Archer systems, because Well, wasn't there at one point in one of the shows an Archer system mentioned that wasn't named after him?
Okay, well,
the one that was named in TNG, obviously that was made long before Enterprise was even thought of, so nobody knew the name of Archer was going to be a captain name. So
yeah,
you could
and
argue
that's
that
probably
was
why
named
Star
after.
Charts put it out here. Now, the way Cryptic actually kind of deals with this continuity, if you look at the description for the Archer system, it says that it was actually a independent colony founded by entrepreneurs trying to kind of capitalize on the exploration spirit. So that's why it got named the Archer system, despite there being already an Archer system much closer.
Funny.
And so that's kind of what caught my eye as far as making this the source, because it did kind of have this, albeit a corporate, corporate heritage, but kind of that like built for or established for exploration kind of a feeling to it.
It's funny you should it's funny you should mention the corporate aspect of it, because I was just in my head I came up with a funny thing when we were talking about naming the Starbase. I thought, oh, what about corporate sponsorship? The Lobi Consortium presents New Dawn Station.
You could certainly have fun with that. I don't know if we need to go too corporate here.
Yeah.
Pull up my Star
that was
Charts
that was just me messing around when I was bored in my head.
So there was actually another reason I picked this location, and let me pull up my star charts here so I can get this accurate. There was actually a Federation starbase extremely close to Archer. Now, Star Charts doesn't put it in the same system as Archer, and I was kind of hoping that, Cryptic would be able to add our unique door for this, but even if it doesn't, this can still work.
I should say we have submitted a few things to Cryptic to go along with this to see if they were interested in participating. One would be to create a new point of interest, a new Foundry door for this. I don't know if that's necessarily feasible. The other thing is to essentially let us start administering the Foundry challenges. And all they would really need to do is make sure that we could get that stuff put in the news and guarantee a spotlight for the winner. We haven't heard back yet on any of that, so we have contingencies if they don't want to participate or can't participate. So,
but anyway, the Star Charts puts Starbase 105 very close to the Archer system, and so I was thinking that would, since especially with the formation of the Romulan Republic now in between that and Federation space, that it would be a good opportunity to say, oh, there's this starbase there, but the Federation withdrew when the Romulan Republic formed. It was just too far away from the Federation. But at the same time, you could say that this station was basically abandoned, but then that it was brought back online for this exploration initiative.
Yeah, you could.
So, and then they rename Starbase 105 into whatever name we decide for this starbase.
Well, I'll tell you what. For tonight, we'll sort of bypass that part of it, and see if there's any comments on the location.
Okay.
And then we'll revisit that next episode.
Yeah, maybe I'll put it up as a community question.
Yeah.
So we want to hear your thoughts. Where do you think
where do you think we should
the door
set
for
this?
the exploration initiative should be?
I'd say we're definitely thinking Alpha or Beta Quadrant. I don't think Delta Quadrant for this one.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a little too far, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, not to mention, I mean, it's been done to death by Voyager.
We're in a post-war recovery era too, so they got to do this with limited resources.
All right, I'm just going to go ahead and start with a
space map.
I'm looking around right now, and what is the farthest reach of the Beta Quadrant? And that would seem to be the Hotep system. I'm trying to remember if that was ever used for anything.
The thing to do would be to look it up on StoWiki.
Yeah.
All right, so we're going to start with a blank space map, of course.
Yep.
And I think the very first thing is to put down our starbase. Now, we have been wanting to use the old Earth space dock.
Base 1, as it's labeled in the Foundry, which is a pretty huge station. And I mean, it got a lot of flack when it was originally the Earth space dock, mostly because it didn't look like Earth space dock. It was this very large, I want to call it monstrosity, but it was pretty big departure from the classic.
It's a very, very different design from.
I would describe it
Mushroom.
the general player reaction as it's new, therefore it sucks.
Which I think, I know Dragoon, you're on the same page with me, is that I have always actually liked it as a design.
Mm-hmm.
I certainly didn't mind when it was replaced by the well-known mushroom from the movies. But I like it. It's a neat-looking station.
My answer was, it's a great state. It's a cool design. It's just a terrible ESD.
But in any case, this gives us an opportunity to use it again because, of course, it's nowhere else in game now. So this we can use it again for this.
And I mean, I kind of want to use it because it is such a unique design. I mean, and currently not used anywhere else in the game. So I mean, at this point, I think it has a potential to be very iconic.
Yeah, that's definitely true. Because
the other options would be things that are in game somewhere else, like the ESD mushroom or the player star bases, the fleet star bases.
Yeah, and I'm sure we could find plenty of Federation-looking stations, but it wouldn't be, this particular station, or this is a.
Now, if we had the captain's table station, I might say we'd use that, but I don't think we have that one.
That would be cool if we could use that one. It's also
still the captain's table station.
True. It
exists but most people
this
don't
one
know
doesn't
what the
exist in
captain's
gaming.
table looks like.
We got Jupiter Station.
Nobody goes there anymore.
Wait, has Jupiter Station ever been used in the game?
They had planned to do something with it, and then those plans were changed, but they had still made it. The asset was still there. So it got added in Taco's big space station adding thingy.
Well, we've got the shiny new Drozana station.
That one's fun.
We got the mini Cardassian station, which looks like a DS9 with the legs chopped off.
Did they actually use that one in the TV show?
I don't think they ever did.
No, I think that all they had budget for was to shift Deep Space Nine on its side and call it Empok Nor.
Yeah, I do know they did that, but I seem to remember that the several of the Star Trek computer games had a Cardassian space station design smaller than Deep Space Nine that is exactly like what you described. It looks like Deep Space Nine, but with the pylons missing.
All right, so we also got a couple of older assets that we're in. We've got the double mushroom design, which is like mushroom top and mushroom bottom. It used to be in Federation. I don't think it's still there anymore.
It's the one that you could see out the window. You remember last time we were looking at older space dock maps, the ground maps, and you could still see it out the window.
We've got one
that have. Never mind. Go ahead.
We've got one that's kind of like the big, or has a couple of mushrooms, and then it's got these little like satellite mushrooms, and then a bunch of panels leading off of that. So it's kind of like a Starbase complex. I think it got used in the Hope the Epimenitia design.
Oh yeah. Well, it is nice to have options, but I think older space dock is probably the coolest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I said, I mean,
That one with the solar panel sticking out of the mushroom, isn't that the same as the one that's in orbit of Vulcan?
yes, I think you're right.
Yeah, it might be.
Because the game actually does have a starbase orbiting Vulcan. Not that anyone actually uses it for anything ever.
Well, I mean, it doesn't
Well,
really serve a function.
Well, except me. When I made that Sea Lot barbecue mission on Tribble, which doesn't exist anymore, by the way, I made a recreation of Vulcan space for the mission, where as part of it, you had to disable the starbase.
All
Granted,
right, so
that
let's.
was not here anymore, so yeah, I kind of.
So for ease, let's put our starbase at just at 000.
Okay. I think I put it at -3 so that the player can start at 000 and still be slightly on the upper side of it.
That works.
All right. And people in the chat room, if you want to shout suggestions at us, we'll be watching.
Yeah. So I think the first thing is to decide on a color scheme. What
Fair
color
enough.
do we want this map to be? And that kind of can inform the assets that we might use and the backdrops we might use.
True.
So let's put that up to the chat room. See what color. What color do we want this map to look like?
Well, I mean, no, I mean, what about like a
There's
combination of red
there's
and blue?
green. Yeah, you can do combinations.
In fact, let's go ahead and pull up the backdrops.
Duncan Idaho is suggesting blue.
Anything that looks kind of sort of rainbow colored.
Rainbow. Now here of course is another question. Do we want to use a custom backdrop or a one that is provided for us?
So the custom backdrops are a little buggy right now, and they don't put out great light.
True.
And apparently the suns are not working properly.
Possibly not.
I tried 12 different star objects and none of them worked.
Right, those are just in the blue mats. I mean, we can try other.
Mm-hmm. And the advantage is, as Duncan is pointing out, it is easier to specify. We won't have to tell people to do 4 lines of things. Instead, we just tell them to do one thing. So we have a request for blue. So what are you finding that looks blue?
The blue 15 is kind of cool. It's got this cool bright background.
Okay. Why don't we test that out?
Custom is good. I actually, when I was doing that testing earlier this week, I realized that you actually do have the option to completely remove the backdrop from a map, so that it's literally nothing but a yawning black void.
I was experimenting with that one time to try and recreate that area with no stars that Voyager went into.
Oh, the void?
Which they call the void. Yeah.
It's actually very simple. I mean, you don't think of it when you first start with it, but it's a very simple effect to recreate. You know how there's a trash can icon you can use to delete objects from maps? Well, when you're looking at the background layers, there's a trash can object next to each of the background layers. Just click the trash cans, and it'll make all of them, including the one that it spawns with by default, go away.
Since you guys,
so this is an interesting one. my only complaint is that it doesn't. The star field is sort of weird. It only shows big stars.
Yeah, I think the idea is that the nebulas are putting out higher than normal background ambient light, which
Yeah, it could be.
lead out some of the weaker stars.
Mm-hmm.
But you're right; it does feel a little bit more fantastic, if that's the right word. Less
but
real.
that said, I don't dislike it.
Well, I mean, let's keep it on. I mean, we want to try a few things.
Yeah, we're gonna try a few more. We also had an interest in purple as well as blue.
Purple, huh? Let's see what purple's got to offer.
What do we got? Purple. I've got my own Foundry open here, so I can follow along.
If we do custom background layers, we could actually mix and match various objects, make it more interesting.
Well, we were thinking to keep it simple and to get some of the fun lighting.
Try that one.
Well, for relatively simple but still custom, you could pick a template and then add a specific background layer to it.
I mean, it's one of those. There are so many backgrounds in the Foundry, and they're okay. So this is purple. I'm sharing my screen with you guys on Skype if you can see it.
Of course.
Oh, I've been attempting to look at it in the Twitch channel.
It's nice. It's definitely better on stars.
It's very similar to the previous blue one that we had done.
Yeah,
but
not quite
purple.
But a little more stars, a little less clouds.
It's definitely nice that it doesn't feel like familiar space. That's one of the things.
Another thing is that it's not solid purple. It has a bunch of gradations of brown mixed in.
True.
Yeah, ground, some yellows, a little bit of reds.
And a happy little tree, right?
Happy little Starbase right here.
Yeah.
Okay, I kind of like this one.
Okay.
Do we want to try some other ones?
Yes.
Try scrolling down to the bottom of the list and looking at that one. Okay, that was not a serious suggestion, but it's an amusing background to look at.
I believe that's a wormhole, isn't it?
No, if I remember right, it's in an Undine fluidic space background.
Fluidic space.
Let's try this red one here. Got a red and green look to it.
What's it?
There was something I experimented with a long time ago because there was this environmental effect you can add to things, but I realized that simply placing it on a map actually does almost nothing because of the fact that this particular environmental effect is designed to distort the background.
What do you guys think? I mean, I feel like it looks just a little bit too sunsetty. So the lighting.
It also reminds me of the Briar Patch.
Yeah.
It's the same sort of mingling of orange and green.
I mean, here's a question: is what kind of themes are we kind of emotions are we trying to convey with this?
Well, you want something that looks like it's on the edge of known space.
So
yeah,
it's a long way. It's a long way from civilization.
You look outside the window and you're like, no one knows what's over there.
The vastness, your own insignificance. Which is why I think blue is a good place to start with that. Blue is a colder color.
Try this one.
What is that? What's the name of it?
This is Travas Space, which I'm pretty sure is the old Empok Nor mission map.
By
the way, are you sure it does not contain Empok Nor?
It does not, because I'm only using the backdrop.
Gotcha.
That's interesting. Although,
Yeah, because Empoknor was an actual asset in the map.
Yeah.
Is the stove version of Empoknor tipped sideways like the one in the TV show?
I want to
I
say
forget.
yes, but it's been a while. Obviously, it's not a mission anymore. Not liking the lighting on this one.
Yeah.
Feels just a little too dark.
Yeah, now that I think about the Empoknor mission, everything in the mission was intended to be dark. I mean, you go inside the space station, and it's like instead of normal lighting, there's like candles flickering on the walls almost. It's like emergency lighting that's half dead because the batteries are run down or something.
Try this one.
Which one are you trying now?
This is ILS. AELAS space.
Yeah, that one.
The very first one.
It was a special one because it was associated with one of the old Romulan story missions that no longer exists. The Saturday's Child mission, if I remember right.
Okay, I mean, this is a much more basic background. It's like it has a red lighting to contrast some blue background.
I don't know. I'm almost more liking the original, the plain blue space ones that we were looking at earlier. See,
Okay.
Let's look at a few more of those.
Well, we're doing this in an empty project, so it loads faster.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is very milky.
Which number is that?
This is number 1.
Number
Although
one.
looking at it from the thumbnail, number 2 looks really similar.
If I remember right, the generic colored backgrounds are a lot like the Nebula Cloud assets in that they're really just the same thing, only reshaded.
I think a lot of
like-
these came from the patrols and that sort of thing.
Yeah, well, I think that they were kind of like created like almost like a batch project.
Or no, I know where a lot of them were from. Is from the old exploration system.
Probably
some
true.
of them, yeah, I think it was from the Exploration Cluster.
Yeah.
Which would also explain why they look like they were made as a batch operation, because red, orange, yellow, green, blue, purple. Okay, now we're going to draw a new object and then color it.
All right, what do you think of this?
Rurapenthe. Rurapenthe does not have a particularly interesting backdrop.
This is, I think this is Blue 03.
That was a suggestion from the chat room. Is Rurapenthe?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Let me take.
Because the Rurapenthe one, that's actually a social zone that KDF players can go to. Granted, it's not much of a social zone. All you can do there is scan the particles for the Omega event and have the prison guards yell at you and tell you to go away.
It's also not one we have access to. It's not on the list.
Not on the space one?
Nope. Let's see. Borath is the other one. Let's take a look at
Try Borath.
Yeah.
We have that one?
We do.
I kind of like the a delicate blend of blue and orange in that map. That's kind of cool.
Yeah, this one you were looking
Borath.
at a second ago.
All right, I was hearing a V for some reason. There's no Vorath.
I think there was a Vorath, wasn't there?
Who knows? There's probably something of everything.
Maybe you're thinking of Valrath. Actually,
All right.
Valrath is a custom title, but yeah. I think it's one of the ones you get for a kill accolade, but I don't remember which kill accolade.
It's a simpler background, mostly stars, just a nebula streak
Just sort of,
or two.
yeah, a streak of blue nebula there with a little bit of green.
Got that sunset light that I don't like.
Yeah, light up the Starbase real good with seemingly no reason.
Yeah.
What was that first one we did? We did Blue 15 was the first one. I'm kind of thinking that was maybe the best. What about Blue? What about Blue 11 here?
Blue 11. I'm almost kind of going for like a hopeful feeling. So, oh,
You
that
don't want
is
it to be
very
too
orange.
bleak.
That is very orange and surrounded by debris.
Ooh, surrounded by debris. What kind of debris?
I don't know if I want to know the history of this version. I think we're in the Terran Empire version.
This is the mirror Frontier
Yeah.
Starbase.
Yeah,
that does actually look kind of interesting, but
It does look kind of
it
cool,
does-
but not quite what we're going for.
it does look like you're surrounded by a graveyard of lost ships, kind of
Yeah.
almost.
Oh yeah, this is the mirror conquest initiative.
Yes.
Yeah, because those things in the distance do not look like asteroids.
That's funny. That's Blue 11 because it looks like that War Games background.
It might actually be, yeah. Now that I think, but that does fit with the War Games map.
This one is popping through, and
Let's see. I'm checking one out here. Mylasa space.
and my Lhasa.
I want to say it's from one of the Breen missions.
Isn't that the Gekly herding one?
I don't think so. I think it's from one of the Breen missions. I think it's one where you go down to the ice planet and fight some Breen.
Okay.
Maybe. Ooh,
It
that's
feels
a
like-
green.
Kind of feels
Wait,
like
that's a
we're in
great-
a dark matter nebula or something.
It does. The stars don't really shine through this one, do they?
Yeah.
Not much. You can see them, but not much.
Not that I haven't wanted to do a set a Foundry map in a dark matter nebula. That would be kind of cool.
Been there, done that. It was fun. Ooh, Coalsack. It kind of reminds me of the Coalsack Nebula.
There you go. Oh, well, you know, Willamette does seem like there would be something that was.
Well, I'd almost say let's go back to what was it? Purple O2, I think, was one of the ones we liked because it had the good star field and it had some interesting nebula clouds and such.
Okay.
But what's the under attack one there?
I think that's from one of the old Chronos missions.
Is that the one where the Valkyrie are attacking Kronos?
Yeah.
I'm kind of curious what that one looks like.
I'm surprised it would look different than what the normal Kronos does.
The ground did.
Yeah.
But I think this one is our sort of top candidate here.
Yeah, I mean it's pretty. It doesn't completely overkill though. But even the emptier parts of space have some subtle going on.
There's some red.
Yeah. Interesting colors. It's not like a single color everywhere.
Yeah, it's not too dark. I think that's a good looking one.
Okay.
All right. Now we need
the lighting makes the Starbase look kind of violet.
Yeah.
A little bit.
All right, so got Purple Space 02 as our backdrop. So now we need to add some objects. And I would say just to keep it simple, 5. No more than 5.
Okay.
So do we want a planet?
Does...
Yeah. What kind of
That's
planet would go good with purple-ish?
Broken Moon, no, Shesharim. No one gets that joke anymore. It was a reference to Titan AE.
I just watched that the other night.
In Titan AE, they go around following this old map that gives them these weird hints as to how to find what they're looking for. And one of them is to go to the broken moon of Sesharim.
Oh, yeah. How about a Class Y?
I'd say there's a lot of interesting Class Y ones.
Yeah.
Are those the volcanic planets?
Mm-hmm.
They are, but I mean,
that's why this is a space starbase, not a ground one, because you wouldn't want to put.
Yeah, that would be a good reason to not build it on the ground. Yeah.
I'm going to try Class Y04.
4.
Take it down about 10. Not in direct order. And just for fun, I'm going to give it a ring.
Okay. What kind of ring?
We can do purple.
Yeah, well,
though we probably shouldn't do purple.
One of the interesting things with the planetary rings in the Foundry is that it actually does create a particle effect when your ship flies to the ring.
I always like that.
Brown I could kind of see. Let's try brown. Like brown middle right now.
Yeah.
Light brown?
I wish I played with these more often than I could tell. Knew what I was doing more. Did a lot of rings on planets. Probably should. It's kind of interesting.
Actually, the reason why I thought of the broken moon of Sesharim is that it reminds me of that planet that Starbase 39 orbits. Or I should say the remains of a...
Yeah.
Did they ever explain why it's orbiting something that looks like it was exploded?
I don't think they ever explained that.
The ring looks a little low, but the color matches.
Well, the planet is below us, so...
Yeah. He lowered it by 10, so...
Oh, so what altitude did you set the ring to?
Ring 10 is always at the center, isn't it? Yeah, it's at the center of the planet.
It's always at the center of the planet.
I don't know if I'm digging the yellow. I think it's not quite working with the background.
I don't think the yellow quite goes with the backdrop.
I mean, maybe rotate the planet 180.
Let's see what other planets we might have.
Because if I remember right, a lot of these planets, the front side looks very different from the back.
What do you think of 15? So, no, 14. 14's the larger version.
14. Oh, let's try it.
It's like blue version. It's like really blue.
Yeah,
Like iridescent blue.
very blue.
Duncan Idaho says middle ring might help look centered.
Well, that's what I used, and it definitely was in the center of the... Alright, let's...
I'm not sure that one really goes either.
How do you know? I'm still loading it up.
Because I'm playing with it in my version as well.
Okay, yeah, definitely not. I think we almost have to go with first thing purple.
Yep, I'd say so.
He's one of the
So let's...
like dead looking ones. So maybe
what about KO1?
that's a big one. Which could be cool.
Isn't that a demon class planet where it's like hot gas everywhere?
No, demon class planet is Y.
Oh.
Alright, and purple is an option. So let's go ahead and go. It's huge, so we're going to go outermost purple.
What's class K then?
Looks like sort of rocky and...
Because I know class L is a jungle planet. Class O is a ocean planet.
Class K is a planet that is characterized by being adaptable by humans' use of pressure domes or life support systems.
Sounds like something with a flimsy atmosphere.
Okay, I'm kind of liking this.
Yeah.
Like, I like that it's like super huge.
Mhm.
So it kind of makes the station not feel so gigantic.
The station is in orbit of it.
Yeah, I can see this. Nice pick, Drogyn.
It looks kind of like a desert planet.
Yeah,
Almost like Cardassia, actually.
like a Mars or something like that.
Mm-hmm. Now, what ring did you use for it?
Outermost purple.
Outermost purple.
So you can try a different color, see if it offsets it or brings it out just a bit.
The brown seemed to work pretty good. Brown middle looked good.
Okay. No, I like the outermost because it makes the planet feel really big. We're going to lower it just a little bit more. By -20. Duncan Idaho likes it. He thinks it blends well.
Yay!
Yeah, the yellow probably stands out a little bit more.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I like the outermost because it really makes this planet just feel absolutely massive because the ring actually extends out further than the starbase.
Yeah, that's cool. Also, the yellow color kind of fits the planet because the planet's kind of like a light ochre color almost.
Yeah. All right. Do we want to add a couple of moons?
Yes. What moons shall we add?
You believe that our map only has 2 assets in it so far?
Mm-hmm.
All right. Class D are the planetoids. I think we should try class DO2. Put it up about. And I want something smaller. Actually, might
I
go
think
for
that's
an
as small as
asteroid.
they go.
Go for a large asteroid.
Kind of like the moons of Mars.
Yeah.
Wait, we have the version of that planet after the planet killer blasts one side off of it, didn't we? That might be entertaining.
Destroyed.
Although on second thought, it seems a bit too what's the word for it? Not exploration, well, like combat sort of thing.
Yeah.
Because that particular asset was apparently created by the devs to not look natural, like at all.
Now, the asteroid might be too small.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking.
Although technically a moon can be of any size, as long as it's natural in the orbit.
There is an idea I just thought of that it's not a simple one, but you can create a giant asteroid by taking the big donut asteroid and placing several of them at slightly different rotations centered on the same point. You might need as many as 4 of them to create something that isn't obviously hollow.
Yeah.
Alright, so big moon I want to feel further away. Everything. Alright, so I don't like you. And what other asteroids do we have? Anything? Got this light blue that's almost ice.
Well, that would certainly stick out pretty nicely.
Got a couple of the Ys that are could about Y31. Only a little bit larger. Put it far enough away.
One close and one far.
This guy. 15. Let's kind of guess at these values. Kind of play around with them. I mean, you're always kind of trying to create a good-looking scene as they warp in.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's definitely one of those things where you would want the whole map to be visible when the player spawns. You don't really want to hide it.
Might have to move that closer moon further away because it's right now it looks bigger than the bigger moon.
Yeah. Move the big one closer and the closer one and the smaller one far away. Then it'll look really small.
I'm kind of curious about something. I'm just going to pull these in real quick. Like, they all the same size? That one's really.
I think
small.
most of the moon objects are actually the same size. They're just different textures.
They're not the same size exactly. We got one here that's
Not
like,
exactly,
definitely.
but pretty close, yeah.
All right, so this guy here, he's Okay, I'm starting to like where this is going. Try something real quick.
Well, we will have to wrap this up here. We're about at our
Yeah.
time limit for the evening.
Yeah, it's 8:30.
But we've definitely got a good start here, and we can see if there's any feedback on this episode and as far as this map goes, and continue on to the interior next episode. And then once we get these finalized, we'll make them available for people to use in their new exploration missions.
I hope people are liking where we're going with this.
Yeah.
Well, Duncan Idaho seems to like it anyways.
He's happy, I'm happy. All right, cool. So, contact info?
Yes, contact info.
All right. We can be emailed at foundryroundtable@live.com. We are also on Twitter at Foundry Roundtab. Drogyn can be reached at Drogyn1701. Markhawkman can be reached at MAR-Hawkman. And I can be reached at Greendragoon. And big community questions we want to put out. First off, what are your thoughts on the door? What door should we use for the station, and proceeding to all of the exploration missions that come out of this? And also, what do you guys think of the map we've designed? Do you like it? Do you like where we're going? Do you have different thoughts? Let us know.
All right. Well, we will say good night.
Good night.
Good night.